Hi, I'm Larry Nelson, an instrument-rated private pilot with a passion for aviation. I built what I think is the perfect aircraft for my mission, exploring my home state of Arizona and beyond while taking you along for the ride. I also want to showcase affordable aviation and show the incredible capability of these light airplanes. Follow me along in my aviation journey. This is Zenvair Pilot. For the last couple of weeks, I've been watching the weather and looking for a great opportunity to go on a quick cross-country flight to one of my favorite airports here in the area. And I was debating between going to Calexico or going to Imperial. And for today, I think I chose the perfect place for me to go and show off one of the locations that we can very easily get to here from the Summerton Airport.
Summerton traffic experimental 8 Lima November crossing over runway 35 to the run-up area, Summerton. Summerton traffic experimental 8 Lima November, clear runway 35. Alright, let's let the engine warm up, and then I think it'd be time to get out of here. Summerton traffic experimental 8 Lima November, taking up runway 35, Summerton. Okay, lined up runway 35. Set the brake. (2,000 RPM), everything's in the green, let's go. Summerton traffic experimental 8 Lima November, left cross departure to the north, last call. For today, we're going to do a little cross country over to Imperial, California. Actually, no, I think we're going to go to Calexico instead. I think that change here in just a minute. One thing about Calexico that's interesting is, while there's no instrument approach, it's right on the border, and it kind of makes for a very interesting approach to the airport. Yuma approach experimental 918 Lima November with request.
Adjust trim.
Experimental 918 Lima November, Yuma approach 5.
Yeah, Lima November's at pilot knob 3,500, looking for flight following to Calexico, KCLX.
Experimental 8 Lima November, squawk 0441.
Adjust trim.
0441, 8 Lima November. So I have made some adjustments to the autopilot, making it a lot smoother, so.
Okay, chain this is hot, 10,000 and above.
So with the autopilot on this, with GRT, what you get is you get a gain adjustment, and that gives you basically finer or less control, or basically makes it so that it's weaker or stronger in how it's controlling or holding those altitudes. So I just recently...
Opens up in 4 minutes.
So recently I went in there and I actually changed the gain settings. It's making a huge difference in just how smooth the autopilot is, which is kind of a nice thing to do. Make it a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer to fly. I'll start leaning this guy out. A 13 to 1. Be nice. Real nice on the EGT CHT, so So Calexico is one of my kind of two go-to cross-country airports, mainly because it's not too far away, gives you a good 50 nautical mile cross-country. And it's kind of cool what they've got at Calexico right across the airport. So as I get a little closer, maybe we'll, well, I'm going to land and I'll walk across the street and show you guys kind of what makes Calexico kind of a neat place to fly out this area.
To the VOR 3400, your altimeter is 29904. 8 Lima November approach.
8 Lima November, go ahead.
Not sure if you heard me, but your radar contact now on 15 miles west of Bard 3500. You altimeter is 29904.
29904 and position checks 8 Lima November. Alright, so here we are. 15 miles out from Bard VOR, which is not too bad. Almost coming up on one of my airborne checks I do for the VOR. So for those of you who don't know, for VOR to be used for IFR navigation, you have to go out and you have to check it every, basically every, I believe it's every 30 days. And one of my favorite spots to do is I fly out to the Heeds intersection, which is roughly about 25 miles from the Bard VOR, and that's kind of a good place to intersect that.
11 squawk 4754.
So let's see if we cross over that right on the money, or if it's 1 degree off, which last couple of days has just been 1 degree. So how I'm identifying it, so I've got a WASP GPS that's fitting signals to my iPad right now, and I can make sure that I'm crossing directly over the Heath intersection, and I'm looking at the indications here on the with the CDI. All right, we are just about on top of the Heath intersection. I'm watching it. We are on top of the Heath intersection, and are we one? Yeah, we're virtually 1 degree off at the Heath intersection. That's awesome. All right, back to the GPS navigation.
Experimental 8 Lima November, change my frequency 132.27.
132.27, 8 Lima November. Approach experimental 8 Lima November, 3,500.
Experimental 8 Lima November, Central, altimeter is 29907.
29907, 8 Lima November. So weather for Imperial is 270.6 knots, so no big deal. We'll land this direction here. We got a little bit of a headwind, so yeah, we'll land runway 26 in Calexico. Ceiling visibility is clear and unlimited. We have temperatures 54 degrees, dew point 19, altimeter 29903 is what we have in Imperial. I don't know why they gave me 29907, because that's apparently the more most. But let's go over here. 132.175.
916 Foxtrot Tango, Central approach, Central altimeter 29907.
29907, 916 Foxtrot Tango. So 132.175, let's get, yep.
Wind 260 at 03. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 15 Celsius. Dew point minus 03 Celsius. Altimeter 29905. Remarks. Density altitude 0.
All right, here we go. So a little bit different, so it's 29905 for Calexico, which is what we now have set. Because we're going to be coming up on Imperial VOR here in just a few minutes, and then from there we're going to make a turn south and we'll actually fly the traffic. Actually, at this point, I think I'm just going to go direct Calexico, just because it makes a lot more sense at this point. Cancel. Flight plan, Calexico direct. Activate that direct. Okay, so we're going direct Calexico at this point. And we're going to land. I'm going to show you what's right across the street to Calexico, and I think we're going to head back right after that. Just kind of a quick little trip around the patch. Approach experimental 8 Lima November. I'm going to cancel flight following at this time.
Experimental 8 Lima November, radar service terminates, call P5 for change.
Frequency change approved, 8 Lima November. Calexico traffic, experimental 918 Lima November is 15 miles to the east, going to be landing runway 26 Calexico. Just to the south there, that is actually Mexicali. Kind of a cool town. It's interesting how big Calexico, or Mexicali actually is in comparison to all the other cities around here. Alright, we're going to go autopilot away.
Autopilot disconnect.
Start our way down. Okay, make sure it's rich car. Fuel's on property, make sure it's rich carb, on, trim is set. Just a little higher than pattern altitude right now. Calexico traffic, experimental 918 Lima November, 5 miles to the east, straight in runway 26, full stop, Calexico. And there's Mexicali. Like I said, it's this major city, got a real big arena right there. See, I think it's actually a baseball stadium right there. Either baseball or soccer, but I believe it is baseball. All right, pattern altitude, we're going to level off here. And being very careful not to fly into Mexico. It's an interesting airport just because how close it is to the border. I mean, there's the border, there's the runway right here that we're landing on. This big black line that's to the side of us, that is all U.S.-Mexico border. Okay. So there we are, looking into Mexico. It's an interesting approach. It's kind of like you're sliding in a little bit, just following the border. It feels like you're kind of sliding into the final, but it's not the way it works. Calexico traffic, experimental 8 Lima November, final runway 26, full stop, Calexico.
Obstacle.
Alright, fuel's on proper tank, make sure rich carb heat is on. And we're lined up on final. Okay, testing brakes, brakes feel good. Okay, according to the lights, I'm on glide slope. Full power off. Power's out. Ooh! Ooh, that's a bumpy runway. That runway is very, very bumpy. For a paved runway, the fellow was landing off the field. Been a while since I've been over here. Alright, let's go check out Calexico. Calexico traffic, experimental 8 Lima November is clear of runway 26 at Foxtrot, taxiing back to the ramp via Alpha Calexico.
And everybody, welcome to the Calexico Airport. Now we got the, let's call it the murder row of airplanes down here. So let's go check out what's on kind of the, oh man, let's just call it end of life row. There's a few here that look like they have definitely seen better days. So let's check them out. Another 150, and then a really, really sad, looks like a 310 possibly. But yeah, so here's the sad lot of airplanes. That'd be an interesting one to get back in the air. Looks like that is an Arrow. Had a, ooh, that was a hit. Look at that gear, it's just broken. Is that an Arrow? Yeah, that is an Arrow. It looks pretty rough. And then again, we got another 150. What is this one? Is this a Comanche twin? Or is this something else? It looks, that might be a Comanche twin. Yeah, another gear up on that one. Ooh, rip the landing gear off on that side. Engines are off on both sides. Man, that is, those are some rough airplanes. But now it's time for me to show you guys one of the other cool things about this airport, which is what is right across the street over here. So I'm gonna walk across the street and show you guys why we would actually fly here to Calexico. So Calexico has this really cool factory outlet mall, and what's interesting about it is not an enclosed mall. It's actually a indoor-outdoor mall. So as you go into the stores, you're obviously inside, but all the breezeways, hallways are actually outdoors. They're covered, they're shaded, but it's just kind of this nice little kind of plaza area. Well, as you can see, it's definitely not as busy right now because it is Saturday morning before the mall opens. So right now it's 8 a.m. Mall really doesn't open until 11. That made it for a nice, smooth, cool flight out here. The other thing is, while most of those things I showed you guys have been here in the past, right now the food court's really just down to pizza, and then we have Cinnabon and Aunt Annie's bagels or pretzels. So it makes kind of a quick run, go get some snacks, and then head back home, which is exactly what I'm gonna go do right now. I'll tell you what, that was a fun trip over to Calexico, and I'll tell you what, the avionics that I've got in this plane make it even better, which is why I have the sponsor of this video, which is GRT Avionics. GRT is an American-based company. They're making very capable, very integrated avionics for guys like me and you flying on a budget who want all of the latest and greatest in modern technology that basically the industry has to offer. When you look at GRT, you can start out with something as simple as the Mini EFIS. You can step up to the Sport, all the way to the Horizon, each one giving a little bit more capability and a little bit better information management right at your fingertips. So if you guys are building a light sport or an experimental aircraft, really consider going over to GRT Avionics and checking out the offerings they have. And I think you'll be very surprised at the prices, especially when you can look at their competitors. Like I said in the last video, there's some things that I like about their systems that are a lot different, especially when you talk from an installation standpoint. You don't have all the extra modules, things to make the system work. Everything is self-contained in their systems, making installation a breeze. So really, again, go over to GRT Avionics and check out what they got. But again, until next time, this is me, Larry Nelson, telling you guys for projects in the garage, planes in the hangar, get building, get flying, and pretty soon we're having another plane out here. But till then, I'll see you guys next time.